The world of cattle is a lot more than just steak and toxic gas. There's also a whole world of incredible bulls that much of all the world has never even heard about. After all, not every species of cattle is just bred for meat. Well, most of them are. Anyway, from an evolutionary miracle to a beautifully horned American breed, here are the 15 bulls you won't believe actually exist. Number 15, Ankole Watusi. As humans, we're denied the opportunity to have genetically natural horns, which only makes me feel more jealous when I see an animal with horns quite as magnificent as the Ankole Watusi. Just take a look at these beautiful, thick horns.
Those are very sharp horns. Ooh.
You're telling me you don't want that? The Ankole Watusi is an American breed that has its origins in Central Africa. But just take a look at those horns, because that's the reason you're all here, right? There aren't many breeds of cattle that have horns like this. In fact, the Guinness Book of World Records has confirmed that an Ankole Watusi bull holds the record for the largest horn circumference around in any cattle breed, with an impressive 103.5 centimeters circumference. I'm not sure how they measured that, but I doubt I'd want to be the one to verify it. Still, a bull with a world record? Pretty impressive. The Ankole Watusi can weigh up to 730 kilograms, and it's easy to imagine that most of that weight is coming from the horns alone. Still, you have to admire a beautiful bull, and this one most certainly is beautiful. Number 14, Brahman. While most of the West enjoys a plentiful supply of food for their cattle, not all countries have that blessing. In India, lack of quality of food has resulted in the development of a new species with some unusual evolutionary traits. We'll call it a rags to rich story. The Brahman bull has its origins in India, a country in which it was exposed for many centuries to questionable food supplies, parasites, disease, insects, and a whole host of other generally unpleasant things. But all of this turned out to be somewhat beneficial for the bull, as it began to develop some unusual evolutionary adaptations that were helpful for the American breeders that took over in 1885. Now able to handle extreme weather conditions and heat, not to mention their lesser food requirements, the Brahman bull is one of the most popular species of cattle being bred in the United States today. The Brahman can weigh up to 2,200 pounds, so it's not a light animal, but as one of the few bulls that doesn't require quite as much attention as some others, it's quickly taken over to become the American breeder's species of choice. Number 13, American Bison. This is one bull that needs no introduction. The American bison is a legendary animal in American history, and a pretty scary looking thing in its own right. It's also one of the most resilient animals in the whole of the animal kingdom, having been pushed to extinction many times, and having always survived. Long ago, the American bison could be found roaming all of North America in its vast herds. Then humans came along to ruin its fun. In the 19th century, thanks to the unfortunate combination of commercial hunting and just straight up slaughter with a little bit of cattle disease thrown in, the bison came close to extinction, falling from some 60 million animals to only 541. But thanks to 20th century conservation efforts, there are now around 31,000 bison alive today, many of whom can be found in national parks and other similar public areas. The American bison is an essential figure in the geographical history of the United States, and its history is pretty impressive. How many animals have been pushed right to the brink of extinction only to pull it back at the very last second? Number 12, Nellore Bull. We are not going to be so foolish as to suggest that camels and bulls have something in common. But, well, how else do you explain a hump like this? It's hard to imagine an explanation that does not involve a camel in some way. Maybe they're long-lost brothers. The Nelore bull is a native cattle to Brazil, although, like many bulls, it has its origins in India. But, unlike many bulls, this one is most recognizable by that unusual hump over the top of its shoulder and neck, a unique genetic difference that makes it stand out in the field of non-camel bulls. The Nelore is also something of a standout in its ability to withstand just about everything except for very cold climates. This bull can handle extreme heat. It's resistant to parasites and disease. It can cope with cold water. It's really a Terminator of an animal, unless you put it in a freezer, I mean. The Nelore is the most popular breed of cattle in Brazil, making up over 80% of all beef livestock in the country, usually because of its ability to survive just about any circumstance. The calves, in fact, need no human support whatsoever. Human babies, take a note. Number 11, European bison. The difference between the European and American bison is simple. The European one is a little pretentious. No, that's a joke. Actually, these two animals have quite a lot in common, including their popularity with overzealous human hunters. The European bison is actually a hybrid animal, the result of a cross between the now extinct steppe bison and some aurochs ancestors, resulting in this little-known bison hybrid. This really makes it more intriguing as to why humans somehow managed to hunt this animal to complete extinction. Yup, complete extinction. In 1921, the last wild European bison was shot by a hunter. And it fell to those animals in captivity to repopulate the world with European bison. Since then, they've been reintroduced into several European countries, where humans continue to be one of the only predators of this endangered species. Why were they so determined to hunt this animal in particular? Drinking horns. That's also not a joke. The European bison is a fascinating animal, a hybrid bull that has spent its life being unnecessarily hunted and targeted by overly enthusiastic hunters for something as stupid as a horn to drink from. Still, the European bison is an example of how captivity can actually be used to protect and save a species from complete extinction at the hands of morons with guns. Number 10. Pretty common choice for bullfights, thanks to their strength and aggressiveness. Weighing up to half a ton, they're really not the kind of animal you want to be sprinting towards you. The ongole remains a hugely popular bull all over the world, thriving in a whole bunch of different roles and requirements. In fact, they're so prevalent around the globe that the ongole is now recognized as the largest cattle breed in the world. In volume, I mean, not weight. Well, maybe their weight too. Number 9, Texas Longhorn. So you want to talk about horns, huh? Well, you better meet a guy who has a lot of them. Actually, the Texas Longhorn only has 2 horns, but they're long horns. Come on, I'm trying my best. You know how hard it is to introduce a bull?
They once used their distinctive horns to defend themselves.
The Texas Longhorn is native to, well, you really don't need me to tell you. While they're native to Texas, they're actually descendants of the very first cattle that were brought by Christopher Columbus and his merry colonists into the New World. So technically, they're Spanish Longhorns. But let's not tell Texas that. The Texas Longhorn's most notable feature is its long horns, which can measure up to 70 inches from tip to tip. That's about the average size of a backyard pool's deep end, although you don't really want to go swimming with a bull, that's a catastrophe waiting to happen. The Texas Longhorn is a beloved staple of Texas culture, and we're going to let them continue to believe it originated there. We should also point out that the Texas Longhorn is one of the few bulls known for their gentle nature and intelligence. Makes a nice change from all that gouging and stabbing. Number 8. Australian Brafford. We've often made passing comments about how everybody in Australia is beautiful and attractive and how frustrating it can be. Well, apparently, the same thing happens with Australian cattle. Meet the Australian Brafford, a big old beautiful bull. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. The Australian Brafford was developed in Queensland between 1946 and 1952 as part of a program designed to produce a new breed of cattle that would handle the Australian heat while also being resistant to cattle ticks. That's a pretty good outcome for what sounds like the assignment from hell. Like some other bulls, this is actually a hybrid animal, made up of 50% Hereford and 50% Brahman. But make no mistake, it's 100% beef. This breed has turned out to be so popular that they've been exported to other countries, either as full, live animals or via semen. It sounds like an interesting job, shuttling bull semen around the world, doesn't it? The Australian Brafford was the product of ingenious thinking on the parts of the breeders. Drought and ticks are not easy things to combat genetically, and yet someone found the smart solution of a hybrid bull. Number 6. Charolais bulls. Even the French can't resist having cattle all of their own. The classy-sounding Charolais bull is a French bull, and while it may look a bit intimidating, well, actually, it is. While the cattle generally look quite cute, the bull is, shall we say, frightening. The Charolais cattle are usually bred for meat and make up the most common brand of beef for the whole country of France. There are around 730,000 of them all over the world, and a significant chunk of those are bulls. So, let's talk about those bulls. These things can weigh anywhere between 1,000 and 1,650 kilograms, making them one of the heaviest breeds anywhere in the world. And they're also not very pleasant. While the female Charolais tend to be very protective of their children, the bulls tend to be more notorious for fighting amongst themselves. And that kind of fighting can become deadly. Very deadly. The Charolais is not the kind of animal to go messing with. Outside of France, these animals are considered wild and feral, and have been known to attack and sometimes kill humans that may threaten or provoke it. Number 7. Scottish Highland Cattle Bull. With their somewhat docile temperament, it's hard to look at the shaggy hair of the Highland Cattle Bull and not feel just a little bit charmed by it. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a Disney cartoon, although, sadly, this one can't speak. But if it did, it'd probably say, "Aw shucks," in a Scottish accent. Anyway, the Highland cattle originates in the, you guessed it, Scottish Highlands, and is easily recognized by its long horns and adorably shaggy coat. It's bred to survive in the, shall we say, unique weather of the region, which explains its shaggy coat and extra padding of fat. These are bulls that are built to stay warm and happy, which may also explain why they weigh up to 800 kilograms. Generally speaking, these are peaceful animals who only lash out if they feel their young are being threatened or put in danger. Otherwise, they're adorable and sweet, and we love them. The Highland bull is considered to be one of the friendlier species of bull on the planet, which is a relief. If an animal this adorable turned out to be a major pain in the bull, I'd be very sad about it. Number 5. Belted Galloway. Take a look at this bull and see if you can tell me why it's called a belted Galloway. Have you got it yet? Yep, this is one of the most fashionable bulls you'll ever see. Completely black with one beautiful white strip right in the middle. It's got a belt. Like most Scottish bulls, they tend to keep to themselves until they're provoked, and they have been occasionally reported as having attacked humans. To be fair, the belted Galloway is raised for its beautiful marbled meat, so you can't blame them for being a little bit skittish. The belted Galloway can weigh up to 1,000 kilograms and is a reasonably popular animal around the world, although it did briefly come to close extinction during the UK foot and mouth outbreak in 2001. However, since then, numbers have risen to a global population of around 10,000 or more. For such a fashionable animal, you rarely see the belted Galloway strutting its stuff out there on the, grassway. This is an animal that generally keeps to itself, unless, as mentioned, you happen to annoy it. Then it's gonna come for you. But in that case, you kind of had it coming. Number 4, Barger Bull. When it comes to bulls, most breeders are looking for something strong, capable, and apparently very, very aggressive. The harder it is to train a bull, the better it is. That seems to be the general logic anyway. If that is the case, then the Barger Bull is one of the best. The Barger Bull is native to India, and they have quite a reputation. Many a trainer has left in a huff, deeming the Barger Bull uncooperative and impossible. And they would be right. This species is used to the forest hills, and apparently has no time at all for any other kind of environment. As a result, they use their mighty endurance, strength, and speed to resist any and all training. Although, let's be honest, if you go into a career of being a bull trainer, you are already trying to push a boulder uphill. It's like me trying to train my brother. He's going to do what he wants to do. The Barger is a beautiful animal, but it's also one of the most frustrating you could ever hope to meet. In fact, it would not only surprise me if this bull alone was responsible for most of the cattle-related deaths in India. Number 3, Hereford Bull. There are not many breeds of cattle in the world that have their own council, but the Hereford does. And, like most global councils, the World Hereford Council doesn't really do much outside of cattle. Although, let's be honest, we shouldn't trust the World Hereford Council with anything other than cattle. The Hereford is one of the most exported bulls in the world, with over 5 million purebreds in over 50 nations. It's also one of the most resilient and aggressive breeds. In most cases, the Hereford is often known to suffer from cases like dwarfism, eye cancer, and other unfortunate diseases that can cause severe problems for these otherwise resilient bulls. Still, the main trait of the Hereford Bull is almost certainly its ability to thrive in just about all conditions, in every climate, in every corner of the world. Not many bulls could handle that. The Hereford Bull is by far the most popular breed on Earth, and at 1,800 pounds, it's far from the lightest. But chances are, it's one of the only bulls you'll ever see that can survive in extreme climates as far as Brazil and Russia. Number 2, Black Angus Bull. For those in the UK, the Angus cattle is perhaps best known for its meat. From burgers to steak, this breed is pretty popular with foodies, and just humans, in general really. But what are they like when they're alive? Aggressive. Very much so. Like most bulls, the Black Angus bull is not the kind of animal that you'd want to enjoy a peaceful picnic with. They're actually one of the more aggressive breeds of bulls, capable of inflicting huge amounts of damage on unsuspecting victims. And with a weight of up to 850 kilograms, you can bet it won't be a painless process. Quite the opposite, actually. The secret to a tasty steak is clearly a lot of anger and violence. I guess that's all just part of the process, right? While the Black Angus may be known more for its meat than its bulls, there's no question that this is one of the most aggressive breeds on Earth. And that's really saying something. Remember that next time you sit down for a nice meal of Angus beef. Punch yourself in the face for the full experience. Number 1. Bondsmara. If there were such a thing as a Frankenstein's monster of a bull, it would most likely be the Bondsmara, a unique breed made up of several others, although this one is definitely more of a success than the Frankenstein monster, at least.
And I got a 55, thank you, and I got 55, 60, 70.
The Bondsmara is the end result of Jan Bosma's many experiments, having cross-mated a whole bunch of cows until, finally, one stuck. Genetically, the Bondsmara is made up of 5/8 Afrikaner, 3/16 Hereford, and 3/16 Shorthorn. How do you calculate those fractions of other bulls, you ask? I don't know, but I have it on good authority that this is accurate. As far as I'm concerned, this is just one big ol' monster bull. Internationally, the Bondsmara is known for its high-quality beef, as well as its impressive resistance to just about all bovine and local diseases. Clearly, scientific experimentation can produce a very strong cow. They're also very good economically speaking. That's not to say it could play the stock market, obviously. That's more of a hobby for pigs or goats, but they produce quick-growing calves and they're easy to maintain. But mostly, they're proof that science can make a great product better. Had you heard of any of these bulls before this video? Let us know in the comments. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.